Hey, this is Crystal Lachelle Lax, sharing my experience about Muncie, Indiana. I was in California and I was homeless, and I had a lot of surgeries done. I had a hysterectomy done, hernia surgery, and I had a blockage, bowel obstruction, a blockage where part of my small intestine was cut out, and I it was like over 2.5 years I was having complication back to back, going back to the emergency room over this surgery. So I really needed rest, and I wasn't getting rest. I had to after surgery, I was still in very, very bad pain. They gave me Percocet. That stuff made me sick of the stomach. I can't take things like that. Morphine and Percocet, I never could. Or Tylenols with codeine in it. I can't take things like that. So I had to start doping myself up with Excedrin in order to cope through the pain, and being homeless at the same time and riding trains. That was so uncomfortable for you. You understand? And so some told me to look at the money, unclaimed money, because I done it a couple of times, and I found out that I had back child supports that I didn't even know that I had. So I went and tried it again, and I found out that I had over $5,000 in my account. I put my money away a long time ago in a money market kind of deal, and just forgot all about it, right? And so I was still in California. I knew that that little bit of money in California would get eaten up. There's nothing cheap out here in California. So I knew that back home, I bought a house when I was in high school for $6,000. So I knew that back home in Indiana, you could get cheap houses like that, right? They're fixer-uppers, right? And so I looked through the internet because I was trying to buy a trailer. I was going to do the whole living off the grid, buy me a piece of land, and then do the tiny house. But then I was like, man, all these places out here with wild lions and stuff. I don't know who, and it's just me, my daughter, Natisha at that time, and it was like, shoot, those lions been on 8 hour black tails up. So I just went on and went for the house, right? And so I bought this house in Muncie, Indiana. I found an ad that was advertising it, and I was surprised. So I was like, what? What? Right? So I was able to negotiate the deal. I told the guy, his name was Carl Lee, a black guy, because I couldn't get no white person to buy, to sell me anything, even with all the money that I had, right? Out here in California. So I found this place. It was in Bakerfield, and I was at the Days Inn, looking, and I was only going to spend X amount of money in a hotel room because I wasn't going to let that money be eaten up in hotel fees, right? So I was like, man, I'm going to give myself 3 days to be looking, right? So on that third day, it was like, dang, I was almost giving up, and I seen that ad, right? So I called and talked to him, and he told me, he sent me some pictures of the house. I was like, yeah, I like it. And so I said, well, hold on to the house. I'm going to be down there. I'm going to come get it, right? And so all the step of the way, we took a Amtrak train, and first time riding a train, like my first time flying, and it was a really nice experience. And but it took us a while to get there, but we finally arrived there at night. So we had to take a taxi from Indianapolis to Muncie, and had to check into a hotel room there. And then the next day, I met up with Carl to go take a look at the house. Now, the house, it was just as in the picture, but the guy that he had fixed it on it, he only had one person fix it on it. And he was an older guy, and I was, I'm a heavyset woman. So I was like, this floor seems very weak. And he was like, nah, nah, nah. Sometimes some black guys, they know everything and they don't listen. You feel what I'm saying? And they're always taking shortcuts. You feel me? Some of my electric wires was wired by electric cord. You know those thin cords that you get at the 99-cent store, where they had some of the lighting fixture hooked up, rigged like that. That's fire all the way, right? And so the flooring ended up caving on me about 3 months. My daughter Natisha had that particular room, and her heel went right on through the floor, almost down to the basement. So I had to go find some wood to fix that my own damn self. And then they were supposed to come back for the plumbing to fix that. He said he had to get parts and stuff and waiting on the plumber. They never came back to fix my damn plumbing. Every time I seen his ass out in public, I couldn't stand his ass, and I still don't forgive his ass for that. You know why? Because I came so true, and I gave him, I counted out cash to him. You understand what I'm saying? So I was true about my damn words. I told him I'm gonna have X amount. This is the amount that I'm gonna give you. But trust me, I'm not gonna try to lowball you past this. This is what we agreed upon. This is what I'm gonna bring you. So I brought it to him, and I handed it to him. Now I have to admit I'm still new at buying houses. My first house I was 18 and still in high school, and I had plumbing problems there. Okay, they had to tap into the city in order for me to get it fixed. That was going to be $10,000, so I sold it. Right? Okay, so with this house, I trusted his word too, because he said, no, we'll be back tomorrow. And so they came a couple of times, went down in the basement, but I wasn't hearing no work being done. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, well, is there some kind of, plumbing problem where you can't hook it up? No, he just have to get this and that. These lying people never came back, right? So I'm upset because how could you let two women, me and my daughter, live in a house like that and not fix it? You understand what I'm saying? But you go over to this white woman, mow her lawn, but you can't. The black sister that did right by you, you couldn't do right by me and come fix this damn plumbing, right? So, okay, so we mad about that. But then we started, it was nice. It was a nice feel. I was happy about my house. Okay? I was in love with my house because it took me and my daughter off the street. I remember the last night that we was walking the streets in San Francisco, and I said, "Now, Tisha, just hang in with me because I'm gonna get us off the street, right?" And so we was just waiting for my check to arrive, right? Because when you claim your unclaimed money, you have to fill out an affidavit, and then you have to send in your identification. Then you have to wait for them to process your check. Okay, so that's how that works. It is very legit and it's very real. You just have to check to see what money that you have left behind. Some people have moved and didn't even know that they left paychecks behind or child support checks. So you really need to check into that. So that's how I got my money to pay for my house in Muncie, Indiana. So it was really nice. We would sit out on the porch. At first, when we moved there, the town was so quiet, y'all. It was so quiet to the point where it was so spooky-ish, right? Okay. And but it was nice and quiet and so cozy that it was like, yeah, we would just sit outside with light a fire and drink our coffee, Natisha and I. And so we started noticing that people started driving by. So, it's normal. You move to a place where people, get curious about the new people in the neighborhood. Then I started hearing something where they started saying those niggers live, I'm being blunt, those niggers live, there goes the neighborhood, okay, that. So we bypassed that. You know what I'm saying? We overlooked that right there, right? Then we started noticing that we started being followed everywhere we went in the town. This is a very small town, okay? But I needed a house. I'm buying out of desperation. Feel me? Just so that we can get into something and call our own. So we went from homeless to ownership, okay? Which was a good positive thing, but wrong location, okay? I didn't look up the town, and that was my fault. I take the blame for that. I did not, instead of giving somebody your money, you have to wait for them to complete that damn job, okay? I gave him the money, okay? I should have waited until they completed that plumbing and got that flooring right for me. You feel me? That was my fault. I learned. So that's the part about real estate and business. Okay. So, and then I didn't do my research. If I would have did my research ahead of time, I would have had a heads up that this was KKKville, that they used to do rallies in Muncie, Indiana. You can always pull it up on the website. I did not know how corrupt this little town was. Corrupt. Okay. Now, Tisha, I started noticing about Natisha. They kept on putting Natisha in jail. Then I noticed that this is how they approach you. I'm going to tell people ahead of time, just in case you don't want to listen and you move there anyway, because they're advertising that they'll pay you $5,000 to come to Muncie, Indiana. Yeah, they're advertising it. That's not enough money for the headache that you're going to go through. Okay, so she started acting sporadic, being out in the middle of the snow, winter. She's not recognizing me as her mom. Almost like they gave her either meth or they gave her heroin. But she wasn't my daughter. And then she starts talking about a third eye. They start having cameras inside of our unit, our private unit. Then they would walk on my private property. I started, at first, I was like, okay, well, I don't have my trespassing sign. So I went and bought trespassing. No trespassing. They still was coming up on my property. White guys, white men, walking all around the front and the back. And I would approach them. Why are you walking? Oh, I'm trying to take a shortcut. Yeah, but this is private property. And I got my signs all up on the house. Okay? Daring me. Being bold about it. You feel me? Okay? Because I'm a black female. Remember? Ain't nobody in that house but females. And that's how they were seeing us. Nobody is there but a mother and her daughter. Nobody is there but a mother and her daughters. Because during the 2000, I believe, 17 of the, was that Irma hurricane in Florida, Dominique had to come up with my grandson Antonio to come live with us because there was mandatory evacuation going on. So they had to move from Florida. And she lost everything there. Okay? So she came up to Indiana with me. And she bought, her first car was a Cadillac. She bought her first car, and she started also having problems with the same type of sporadic, bizarre behavior. Because they both of the girls smoked weed. And so there was it was a young black guy that approached Tisha. Because I was so sick, I was telling Tisha, listen, you don't have to worry about paying me anything. I want you to get better. I want you to get better. I want you to sleep. I want you to get better. Whatever you need to do. Just rest for a moment. You know, for a whole year, you don't have to help out with, not everything is already taken care of. I had bills and everything paid, right? And my property tax. So we didn't have to worry about nothing, no bills on us, right? So I let her sleep. And I let her get rest so that she could recover and get better, right? So Dominique started having the same sporadic and started getting arrested back to back by white cops, white male cops. You don't hear me. You don't hear me. In an all-white town where KKK rallies and all-white male cops. And then she told me that some of those cops inappropriately touched her. Then she became a troublemaker because she began to speak up for her rights. You don't hear me. She started asking questions, which means she challenged them about why are you doing certain things. And you know, when people have a racist mentality, they don't like for you to challenge them. They don't want you to ask questions because you're a boy or you're a gal and you're a nigger and don't be asking me questions. So they begin to look at you like you their child. And you're the troublemaker. And you're outsiders. They would call us outsiders and streetwalkers and porch monkeys besides niggers. Oh, you don't know the hell that we went through. But this is why I'm going to speak and share it. My experience. I started noticing my daughter coming up missing. I never seen a person that went missing so many times in my life. All of a sudden the cops come by. I'm like walking in my backyard. Are you Dominique? No, I'm not Dominique. I'm her mother. I'm looking for Dominique. Oh, okay. Well, I heard that Dominique, she's at Eskenazi Hospital in Indianapolis. I'm trying to figure out how the hell did she get to Indianapolis? And it was whatever was happening in Muncie, it started repeating the pattern in Indianapolis with cops and security guards. I don't know. Because a good investigator would sit back and start listening to some things and putting pieces together, because corruptness will connect with corruptness. And if you will bear with me for a moment, you have a town where they see black people as niggers, still living as if we done went back to the 1940s to 60s. Mind frame. We talking about mindset. The same way how people have said that they went down to some parts of Mississippi and they see black people still acting as if they are up under slavery. Well, Muncie, Indiana is similar. Don't have to lie to kick it with you. So for some reason, my daughter Natisha, she got up and she found a boyfriend in Indianapolis. So she moved away from Muncie and she started living in Indianapolis. So it was me and Dominique. For some reason, they really became obsessed with Dominique. Do you hear me? Obsessed with Dominique. Dominique kept getting arrested. Dominique could be right at the corner. There was a bus stop at the corner. She's waiting on the bus. Here comes the cops messing with her. A couple of times being slammed. This is a petite young woman, 4 pounds, 8 ounces. What can she do to big size men like you? And then there was 2 young ones where they said, well, we coming to get Dominica. And say, well, what for? And then her bra strap, she wore like this zebra print, leopard print, kind of halter top. And it was coming down. She said, Mom, can you fix this for me? And then he didn't want me to touch her. He wanted to touch her. No, you don't understand what I'm saying. Then the other one tried to lie and said that I passed something to her. No, you don't understand what I'm saying. Because you don't want to hear it. You want to hear what they telling you. You want to hear the lies that they've been telling you. You don't want to hear from us. The ones that they've been hurting. So I asked him, I said, how come there is no female cops dealing with her? Why is there always males dragging her out of she got her home. She took her little money. She won a lawsuit from her son being slapped. That's in the newspaper too. I called News 13 where a Walmart worker slapped her son, my grandson Antonio. That's all over the internet. So she got her a rent-to-own home. And they were supposed to transfer her son. Her son was ended up, when she went back to Florida, she had to go back to take care of a case in Florida. And she was receiving all kind of threats from this woman named Akeisha Marie Gray that wanted her business. I think that it had all to do with the baby daddy, Marquise, or however he pronounced his name, Marquess, David Eastman, or AKA Rico. Okay? And I think that females, he told Dominique in an email back in Arizona that he wasn't in no relationship. She asked him twice because my daughter was only 20 something back at the time. So she wanted to know because she wasn't going to be bothered with it. And he said, no, I'm not in a relationship. So apparently those two hooked up. He called an Uber for her. And they hooked up in Arizona when he lived on college. He knows in Tempe. And he called her thirsty. You the one ordered the Uber. And whatever happened, it happened. But he wanted her to abort the baby. He said that we was after his money. We didn't know nothing about money. This is a complete strange person. My daughter was young. I always would sit up there because there was time where your kids can be so sneaky. But at the end of the day, you don't know what happened. So therefore, I always used to go ahead and read things. Yeah, I did. I was the nosy mom. So good thing I read that, because when he tried to lie and said he ain't know nothing about her, there's the email. I still got it. Going back and forth on Facebook. Time and the date. So anyway, she was having issue out of this girl. So I'm like, either she's kin to him or she's a female that he used to date, or a baby. But you know how females is when they discover that, what? Ugh, he got her pregnant, or you know how those attitudes get to flowing, okay? And then other women, they don't pull the other women into this mess. So they start harassing Dominique on her email. She created a business called Naked Swim USA. It's a swimwear business. And she started modeling her own swimwear because she didn't have the money to hire no models. But she had the body of a model, so it was okay. This is your business. But they try to turn it into like she a prostitute and a hoe. But she was a businesswoman doing business and getting sales. So Akeisha started harassing her email. And then after the incident of what happened to her son, she went and bought her a gun at the McGiller gun shop. So she made it legal. She registered and everything, but she had to go back to Florida. First time gun buyer. And she young too, but still worried about the safety of herself and her son, receiving threats and all these type of emails and about her son. So of course, yeah, you want to protect yourself and your son, and being followed by strangers. Who the hell are you, and why are you following me with my son in the car? Period. Okay, but it was like she got a charge about crossing over, and then her son got taken away. That's how that incident happened. Yeah, let us tell our damn side. Everybody else been talking. That's how it happened. She didn't know the rules. I didn't even know that you couldn't carry. I figured that once you register and there's an FBI check and everything, I thought that you was good to go to carry anywhere you want. I didn't even know it. I had to learn it. And I'm a paralegal, but I did learn about it. So her son been in the system. So what they were supposed to do is they were supposed to do a interstate transfer where they were supposed to transfer this young man from Florida to Indiana, okay? So that those two can get back together, reunite. Well, they played with the paperwork. All of a sudden, when it got to Indiana, Indiana sent me the wrong interstate study, home study, where they supposed to come out to your home, because he was supposed to come and live with me, and end up sending me the wrong document. Still got that document too. I save every damn thing. Send me the wrong documentation, and I send a letter right back to him, and I called him. I said, this is some incompetent work coming from CPS. You sent me someone else confidentiality information. Well, we can go do another one. I'm not giving my information to you no more. Look at the incompetent work that you did with my grandson information. Are you feeling me? So I believe it was purposely delayed in order to delay the situation. Why? Because in the state of Florida, grandparents don't really have no right. But if I could have got him over to Indiana territory, and that was my goal, I did have some rights. You feel me? So Dominique going through all of this child custody thing, constantly being arrested. So there was time where it was like purposely trying to make her miss her court dates. It seemed like she always got arrested around court date. Okay? About her son. Constantly coming up missing around court date. Nobody knows where she is. Now I gotta go do another missing report on her. Where? And then all of a sudden I started finding emails of flights as if she was being trafficking. As if they were trafficking her while she was up under whatever kind of drugs that they was giving her. Because at the end of the day, that's not weed, and it was not weed of what they gave to those girls. Whenever something happens and your own daughter looking at you and she cannot remember who her mama is, something is wrong. And they harassed her to the point they kept harassing her. If it wasn't the women of the town, because the women of the town was dating the black men, and they felt threatened by black women's being in that town. Tell the truth and shame the damn devil. And you see how my daughter look? Those girls look when they pull themselves together. And oh yeah, I became the fat ass a long time ago in Muncie. Okay? So they called themselves aiming at me. Because of course I'm going to stand up for mine. I've been doing it as a single parent. But they wanted me to bow down. Those men of those towns, they felt that because I was a woman, that they was going to intimidate me as a black woman. We're talking about KKK. So the same pattern started happening to her in Indianapolis. Eskenazi Hospital. The pattern of they started spitefully throwing her in the 72-hour mental evaluation hole. It's almost like it's almost, if you compare with me, we assaulted her. We don't want to hear her cry. We don't want to feel guilty about nothing. So now we're going to throw her in there and they're going to shoot her up with medication. She's going to sleep it off. She ain't going to remember too much of it. It was like whatever kind of medicine, whatever kind of drug they was giving her, it was to make her not remember or fog out their mind. Like a date rape drug, if you will. One time we found her downtown Muncie, disoriented. That's not Dominique. Just like dehydrated and disoriented and just wondering, what the fuck did they do to my daughter? What the fuck did they give her? And been covering up this mess ever since. There was an officer, Hunter, harassed us. We went around town. Sometimes I like to pick up nice, good furniture and like to clean it off or refurbish it and then put it in the house. So it was one of those Saturdays. We said that we was do that, go get a U-Haul because, we didn't have very much furniture. So, and that was our goal, And so we end up finding some good things. And then this one lady, her name was Miss Taylor, very nice, elegant black woman in her right mind. You could tell that she was very educated, very poised. And so she said, there's a furniture set that I want you guys to take out. I want you guys to get rid of it because I want my daughter to use my money to go buy me a new furniture set. And that's what I want. And she ain't going to buy it if I don't get rid of this one. So she said, I want you to come back at 3 because they're going to exterminate. So I came back and she gave it to me. She wanted it out of her house. She said, if you don't take it, I'm going to throw it out anyway. And my daughter going to be forced to buy me one anyway. With my money, okay? So I did. So by the time we got back, we moved it into the house, right? And then we had to go to the gas station to fill up the U-Haul because we had to take that back the next day. And so all of a sudden, there's a cop car behind us. And we're already parked in front of our house, okay? And it just seemed strange about the whole event because I didn't hear him talk through a radio. I wasn't hearing him talk through the radio. Then when he said, yeah, we got report that that you stole a white couch. No, the furniture was brown. That threw me off too. It was a brown furniture set, and we didn't steal it. She gave it to her. Well, her daughter is making a report that you guys stole this, and that you was trying to take advantage of an old woman. And I said, no. Here's her information, Miss Bobby Taylor. Here's all of her information. She wrote this down, and it's very legible. I worked as a CNA, certified nurse assistant, in the nursing home, hospitals, and people private home over 21 years. Now, if someone was dementia or had Alzheimer, look at how legible this woman writes. And she was the one bossing me around. Go in there and get it out. And at the end of the day, she wanted it out, and this is an older black woman, so I'm respecting her. Are you understanding? And she bossy. She was bossy. So I did. And so it's like, but I didn't steal it. Well, her daughter is saying that she wants the furniture back. I said, okay, whatever. I said, her daughter can come get the furniture, but I got to take the U-Haul back. So if her daughter can find somebody with a truck, I'll sit it out on my porch. So I set it out on the porch. Nobody came back for the furniture. And it seemed like the whole thing was a setup. Seemed like the whole thing was played out for harassment. So what I did the next Monday, it was on September the 13th. It was on Friday the 13th. So what I did that Monday, I went down there to the police station, to the record department, asked if they could pull out that record. And there was no record. There was nothing reported. If it was that serious, something should have been on record. That's when I knew that they was damn harassing us again. So this is where you're going to see Lax versus the city of Muncie and the police department, because I got tired of the damn harassment. So I learned how to fill out a federal district complaint form myself, and it went through. I did it right. And so there was one file, even if I didn't win no money, I wanted it to be out there. So it's records. It's legal records of harassment. So if I ever need it down the line, it's already recorded. Are you understanding me? Damn near everything that they did is recorded. You're going to see a lawsuit up against the hospital, the all-white hospital damn near, that they were sending Dominique to on those 72-hour hold. That would be IU Health Memorial Hospital in Muncie, Indiana. And some of those people, some of those guards, they was big white guards holding my damn daughter down. And I said, you ain't got to touch my daughter like that. You have already injected her. She's already in the room. Why are you cops and these security guards arguing with her? Like they riled them up. And she wasn't the only one. There was another black woman that I heard the same thing. And this is what I was taught. I was taught this as a certified nurse assistant in the nurse home. When you have an upset patient, you leave out the room and close the door. Eventually, if she already got shot up with medication, they're going to wear themselves out. So why would you be standing there agitating a patient? And your security and your police officer, you have nothing to do with the patient medical. You have already brought her here. Now it's time for you to go. Security, this is a very petite, small young woman. Why are you, as a big white guy with the red beard, I will never forget him. Why are you manhandling my child like that? And a couple of times she told me that they would press her face up against the bed. That's why you see those lawsuit complaints. Then they transfer her to Escaniza. Then she was in Greenwood. As they would transfer her to these different little spots in order to keep me from knowing where my child was. This is how deviant these people are. They would transfer her. This is why I question this thing about New York. Because this pattern been going on ever since 2018. You begin to see my daughter records, Dominique Lax record goes up. Arrest records goes up. From every part of Indiana damn near. Then they start following her every damn city and state that she went to. All of a sudden, she lived in Fairfield. We had to come out here. We moved from there, and because the house got so freezing cold, we was going to die up in the house. So we couldn't live up in that house anymore. And so we came out here where my son Antoine was, and he lived out in Fairfield. All of a sudden, we found the same pattern going on with Dominique. First of all, the guy upstairs from us in apartment 254 was overly friendly Mexican guy. And it was nothing but guys up there. They was way overly friendly. Like they did something. All of a sudden, here come the same pattern of behavior Dominique started expressing. Like they was giving her drugs in order to take sexually advantage of her. No, tell the truth. Because this girl, you're not going to sit up here and make this girl look like she's the damn criminal when the criminals are still walking around scot-free. That's not what you're going to do to my child. You're not going to write her story off like that. The stereotype black drugged out ass black girl. And she was perfectly healthy before she moved to Muncie, Indiana. All up in Indianapolis, those security guards, she'll go in and she'll go to Whole Foods. She's very healthy and she loves to eat healthy. She'll go into there. There was a white security guard incident there. Everywhere she was going, there was incident because they consider her as the troublemaker, so they will make her appear as one. When they was bothering her and harassing her, you could just see one picture where they just wore her down to the point where she just had a nervous breakdown. She didn't have no psychosis, schizophrenia before. She always been a healthy young woman. What happened? And why is she always that girl? Why is she always that girl to everyone? Why did she become that girl? Why is everyone so focused on that girl, Dominique Lacks, Sandra Marie Lacks? What was it about that girl? And how come every time about her family, they try to keep her family in the dark about that girl, my daughter? What about it? There's people that's not asking some deep ass questions. Like Dominique wanted deep ass investigation. I even told her attorney, Michael Troy Baldwin in New York, she wants a lawsuit and her rights have been violated. How come you as an attorney is not sitting up there making connection with another attorney? I have heard that the legal society down there have sued on the behalf of other people. How come not my daughter? Why not Dominique? Is she a slave? Is the rest of you looking at her like she's a sexual slave or she a slave trade girl? You don't see her that she was born in South Bend, Indiana at Memorial Hospital. That makes her a United States citizen. Natural born United States citizen. She has right. She had every right to be protected up under the law. Why was the law violating her so many times? No, everybody else wanted to talk and tell my story, but you can't tell a damn story if you wasn't there. Of course, the abuser is gonna make themselves look good. They're the pillar of the community, right? And pillars of the community can't be corrupt. That's why the Department of Justice got a couple of them. And I wish Dominique can get that. Dominique, they got a couple of them. They got Gibson, they got Wrinkle, they got the other one. So the Department of Justice did get a couple of them. From another case, they did police brutality. And you can pull that up. Muncie, Indiana, cops indicted. I'm tired every time when it comes to these white people and they do us wrong, and people are so quick to believe their words and will not listen to the words of us. I'm so goddamn tired because you let corrupt keep going. That means I seen another young woman, and she wasn't black, she was white, and I seen her getting arrested. And it's like, Lord, what is happening to the women's here in Muncie and the young girls? And I wonder how many of them need people to really pay attention in that direction about young women in this small town. It's more corrupt than a big town. And I looked at her, and it's like, Lord God, I hope that her parents is intervening and being there for her, because she was a nice looking young woman. A couple of the ladies, it seems like they're spazzed out, like trying to drug out the ladies and then trying to sexually take advantage of them or traffic them or use threats that you're going to be put in jail for a long time or a mental health place for a long time and you'll never see your family. They use something on them to keep them quiet, because Dominique, you know what kind of personality Dominique was the reporter of the family. Dominique will tell every damn thing. And for her to have not have told nothing and or kept too quiet, but you know what? You know your child when something is wrong. Like my child came in and she was holding herself and she couldn't speak, as if something tragically happened, as if she was raped. And I went down there to make a police report. And the officer, an older guy, he's retired now, got mad at me for wanting to make a police report. How do you know that she was raped? Just from the signs. I worked in the medical field for a while, and she's showing signs that she's been violated. And I want to make a police report. I want it to be on legal documentation. Then they told me, well, we can't make that report unless Dominique does it herself. But Dominique is not in her right mind now. And you know this. And I'm her power of attorney. And they try to bypass that power of attorney. They're doing that right now, trying to bypass her mother as the power of attorney. They have not made no contact with me at all. She was supposed to be transferred from Rikers Island, New York, Rose M. Singer Center to a hospital. No contact with the family. Not keeping intact with the family. Going behind our back, making choices and decisions about our family members without including the damn family. Strangers, white, or whoever else that they don't involved, got her labeled as unfit. Well, wait a minute. Before this all happened, and she got released from the hospital, Wool Hall Memorial Hospital in Brooklyn, or Wool Hall Medical Center in Brooklyn, New York, she was talking about somebody stole her purse and she lost her luggages on the train, and it's still probably there in a lost and found. And she was calling Metro about it. That sounds like a person in their right mind. She was also saying, Mom, I'm going to need a copy of my ID. So I sent that to her. That sounds like a person in their right mind. Then she was saying, I need to go ahead and get my ID established. And she got stranded down there. She needed $400 for a bus ticket. And our family is not rich like that. So we didn't even have that. So we didn't hear from her anymore. So I already had a case open for a missing person. So the detective, I think it was Miss Rosemary, she called me and she told me that they found her. Okay. And this is Fairfield, California. So that goes to tell you that her legal place of residence is not New York. She was a stranded traveler in New York. Stranded. Because the hospital told me that they was going to release her to a shelter until she could get her ID and everything after her purse was stolen with her driver's license, her credit card, her SSI benefit card, birth certificate and social security card. So I hope that nobody been trying to use her identification and her social security benefits, because it's hard for somebody to be locked up where all kind of officers are and be committing any kind of crime, any kind of fraud, and any kind of social security cash checking or using that card, benefit card. And then, so my daughter is there. They still harassing me with cameras and following me around. You know, because you ain't got a right to sit up here and protect your family and speak up for your family. And I was born in Mansfield, Ohio. What does that make me? Is that the territory and boundaries of the United States? So that doesn't make me a slave. There is no slavery according to that 13th Amendment rights. So nobody have a right to be looking at me like I'm a slave, or my daughter like their slave man, and we're going to take advantage of her. Like Muncie, Indiana perspective. And nobody wanted to do deep investigation. Why? Because they was white cops. But apparently they wasn't righteous white cop. Because if they was right, why did the Department of Justice and the FBI and the Attorney General office found them guilty? And you couldn't listen to me about my child? So now they're trying to play a little game of keeping me in the dark about my daughter while she's in New York. Because I'm a paralegal. And I know her federal rights have been violated just by them. They didn't want to give her no type of medication. I called as soon as Rosemary told me where she was located. I had called them and let them know that she's her medical situation, and she haven't been on her medication and she needs her medication. They're telling me that she's having all kind of episodes in what at Rikers Island and all of this, but still yet nobody gave her medication. I even called their healthcare area to tell them about her medication that was needed. I told her attorney, if she going through these days and you saying that she got worse and she didn't identify you, she didn't even recognize you, that's telling me that her condition is getting worse and she needs to be on her medication in order for her to become alert and make her own choices and decisions. Because if you really was for her, you wouldn't want to be suggestively giving her no type of words or coercing her into anything. Because if you made her sign something and she was under emotional duress, to me that's voided. Because she was not in her right mind. You made a choice and decision for her. All of that is up under emotional duress. She's not even there. I'm her power of attorney. That's where I was supposed to make medical choices for her. And I'm supposed to be informed about her medical. That's what a power of attorney is. And just by me being her blood ass mama. And they've been trying to hide her from her own family in Ohio, family in Pennsylvania, family in Indiana, family in Washington, D.C., family in Detroit, family everywhere, and been trying to seclusively hide her from her blood black family. So they can continue to whatever kind of brainwashing words that they've been given to her to brainwash my child or to have her in an unfit, crippling state of mind. I never believed in my children being crippled or handicapped in anything. No matter how small your hands is, get in there, wash those dishes, and sweep that floor. Now, because you didn't give her medication, Now, all of a sudden, she's unfit. No, she functioned very well with medication. Dominique drives. That's how she got a driver's license. That's why she has a driver's license that don't expire until 2054. She drives very well. She don't took trips from Indiana all the way to Florida by herself using a GPS device. So she knows how to do that. She knows how to count her own money, manage her own money. Don't play about her dang money. She'll count that money all the way down to the penny. She started her own business. Naked Swim USA, that was her thoughts. That was her arrangement, getting her orders, her inventory, and making those sales. That was her. She raised her own son from the age where she had her first son, 21, and she stayed at home, and we worked the phones and never had to pay child care for her son because she worked at home. She was not a lazy mom. She didn't just throw her son off on me to go out and party. She stayed in the house and she raised her son. She also learned how to use his asthma tank. When he started acting up in school, and the teacher said he's not focused, he's talking too much in public school, she pulled him out of public school, put him through K through 12, which is a wonderful program. You get that on one-on-one teacher. She did good. I don't care what no male is saying about her. She did good as a mother. And if she broke down, losing your child or having people play emotional games about your child and reuniting you with your child is enough to break down any mama. And then they came playing games with me. They messed with the paperwork with me about me getting my grandson. Then they wanted to go through Antoine. And then they build up Antoine Hope. They already knew Antoine background. They build up Antoine Hope. They build up Antonio Hope, thinking that he was coming to California to his uncle just to say that he don't qualify. I never knew because the boy never got any scars. It was just a situation about his mom, but he was never beaten. And Dominique never had a history of CPS, nor did Natisha, my other daughter. They had went through my family stealing children from us and taking money, using our children as their money-making machine. And these girls have never had just a history of CPS involvement. Never had a history. And their kids and their parental rights get snatched from them. But I don't see some women, especially white women, on meth and everything, and they get their kids back in a heartbeat. With no problem. Knowing that she ain't all the way recovered. And at the end of the day, because we are part Indian, we just don't have our paperwork. And that would be seen as a tribe. We are a tribe. So therefore, you don't need permission to take care of your own blood. Don't need a court, really, truth be told, to tell us about anything. We won't take care of our own blood. How do we separate ourselves from you so we can get our family member back and take care of our own family and live on our own damn land? Because you have not done good for us here. You have done everything wrong. You have interfered in our family affairs, which is a Supreme Court. State employees have interfered in our personal affairs as if they're our mama and daddy, and we so retarded that we can't choose on our own. And they have overstepped their scope of their job description to interfere in our family. No, a cop is a cop. That is not in your job description to be over here in my personal affairs. And all up in my health care, all up in the finance. That is none of your business. They have made our life open to the public out of spite because I stood up for my family and I did a lawsuit, and they was not expecting me as a black woman to know how to do those federal complaints. Basically, they're trying to send a message like they're doing yay. This is what, you see how we publicly blast him? You see how we publicly blast the ones that want to speak up for yourself? Well, we're going to do the other ones just like you. We're going to put videos and cameras in your home. If you try to raise up against us, basically that's what they call themselves doing, trying to make an example and a display example of me and other people like us. The star, they would consider us or me the star of their races as TV show. Knowing that I could do a lawsuit because it's against the law for a third party, especially in the state of California. I believe that's Penal Code 649, is it? Around in there about stalking and harassment. And then, no, I'm going to have to look up the code, but then it has to do about third party listening. You're not supposed to be using listening device without somebody else inviting you. The two parties have to invite you in the conversation. You can't just eavesdrop. That's against the law. You can't just videotape people inside of their unit. On the outside, you can't just take your cameras and just put it on the inside. And if you're law enforcement, why are you doing it? What's your probable cause? And basically, do you have a warrant to be searching all inside of my son's unit? That is a search. You're using your camera to look inside, and then you have seized the whole entire apartment. That's a Fourth Amendment rights violation. And then to me, you're looking at us as if we're slaves with no rights. So that's a 13th Amendment violation to me. And then that's a 14th Amendment deprivation of our ability to live life, liberty, and property, to be left the hell alone and to live life without you trying to entrap us, without you trying to purposely send people to provoke us. Muncie, Indiana is more corrupt than you think, because it's a small town. It may start off quiet, but then you're going to see them going, I call them circus clown. And they even try to do this here. It's almost like they made a connection when we moved here to California, because there's chapters everywhere. So they connected to their chapter here in California, the little KKK, little clique in California. So I started noticing the same pattern where they would drive around in a car, in a gang group of cars, stalking you, following you. Sometimes when you step out, they rear up their engine because they want you to know that we're watching you and following you. And I call it the circus clown. To me, it's like, oh, this is like crazy. I think there was a video of the pattern of how as soon as I step outside the house, you begin to see the cars come in groups. I think it's on one of my videos that I did while I was in Muncie, Indiana. They would go from Shipley, because Shipley is mainly like a quiet kind of spot. So they would go from Shipley, but then they would come down Burlington. Burlington, you learn after you live there, you learn how the traffic flow. And if it's flowing too heavy while you outside, they purposely doing this. Because traffic, it's not like it's a boom, boom, boom type of traffic. So you learn to time it. You learn the time that by the time I'm going to step outside of my door, this is how you know that they've been watching you by camera. By the time you step outside the door, they see that you're leaving. Within 5 minutes, they're coming around that damn corner in groups. Then I bought me one of those detectors, listening, just, make sure I ain't going crazy. Sure enough, the detector was going off like crazy. And then I kept seeing an Xfinity truck in the backyard. And you know, the little raccoon that was bothering me. But I seen that the raccoon died right by that pole. You know, raccoon also have a spiritual meaning to it. That means a bandit. That's God's way of telling you that people have a bandit, a thief, a thief. So those are signs letting you know that somebody has intruded your personal private life. And God, and that raccoon kept on coming around the house, right? That means that they have intruded with cameras. That raccoon, I seen the raccoon died right by that pole that the Xfinity man stayed at in that backyard, my backyard. Stayed posted there. Right by that pole in my backyard. And that's where the raccoon died. Like the raccoon was trying to give me a sign, if you will. Then, same Xfinity, because I was having a problem out of complete property care. As if they was trying to force me out of my house. Because they didn't like the fact that a black woman was owning that house. So there's a lawsuit against them too. I made a complaint up against everyone that came up against me. But when you go, well, I don't know if they took that picture down, but when you go to Complete Property Management, you're going to see an Xfinity truck right there. On their website. Someone that works for Xfinity in connection to Complete Property Management of Muncie, Indiana. Maybe that's what they was doing to get those, I call it wireless videos. I don't know, maybe other people, I'm not too keen on all of that those videos, those cameras that can look inside of people's home. I just know it's wireless and it's a tracker. It tracks down everywhere you go. This sounds like something out of a movie, but it's not. And it was very shocking. Do you know how it is to come from California, where it's more freer in California, except now that I'm here and that have happened to me in Muncie. Now California, in this area, not Los Angeles, because I don't live in Los Angeles. They don't do mess like that. Los Angeles is all about grinding and about that paper. Here, I cross over towards San Francisco, where it's like mainly white Mexican or white more area. And now this same pattern has started. Over in Citrus Heights area, over in San Francisco, it was started. Redwood City, I think I did a video when I was in Redwood City. It was mainly white and white Mexican. And I did a video on that, how they left me outside in a wheelchair and they wouldn't help me with my Section 8 voucher. And they was laughing at me. They was laughing and talking about the disabled fat black woman like they did in Muncie, Indiana. So they carried that stuff from Muncie here to California to play that same game. Because it's a form of retaliation. So let me tell you something. It's a form of retaliation. So they got mad because I spoke up for myself. So they needed to teach this nigger a lesson. So they started harassing me and harassing me everywhere I went, even in California. So they call themselves teaching me a lesson for speaking up for myself. But I don't know what to tell you because I don't fear you, honey. Whatever kind of thing that they need to do, they need to go on and get it over with. Because I'm a United States citizen. I'm not a slave. And I'm going to stand up for my rights. Because your rights is all that you have. So I don't know what to tell you. I guess we're going to be fighting until we hit that federal court and those federal jurors. Because they need to know how you treated us. And I want to be able to tell a judge. And I want to be able to tell a juror. And I want to be able to express to them what they did to my daughter. And how bad they harassed my daughter. And it's on paper, it's legal documentation. How many times that you the pattern of excessive arrest, the pattern of excessively throwing her in 72-hour mental evaluation when she didn't even need it. She was fine. That was their way of trying to keep her quiet, like they trying to do now. Have her not on medication so they could keep her out of her right mind, like she's some kind of unfit, doped up, crazy, crippling, handicapped black woman, like they do the stereotype, like they did Malcolm X's mother. Like they do stereotype. It's all about stereotyping us. Either you're the black whore, or you're the drugged out crackhead. They put that on my name. I never did crack. I don't do drugs. I don't even smoke weed. I smoke cigarettes, and that's the only thing I do. But you see, when they can't find nothing else on you, they start lying about your name and slandering your name. All my blood tests, I stay in the hospital. I even went to the hospital here in California. Nothing is in my blood, but they constantly slandering my name. My medical records throughout the whole years show that there's nothing in this woman's blood. These liars have slandered my name. You have said that I'm on drugs. No, I'm not. I don't do drugs, but I take Excedrin. Now that makes me super hyper at times. The caffeine and the coffee and my cigarettes. Those are my main thing. And my food. They don't lie on my name, try to slander my name, my reputation, the fame, to try to keep you from speaking up for yourself and exercising your First Amendment right. I believe that you have a right of freedom of speech. I believe that you have a right of freedom of expression. I really believe that, right? I thought that was every natural born United States citizen rights and privilege. When I bought the house in Muncie, I didn't buy the whole town. I was just buying the house. But the whole town came with it. So be aware. Be aware of your daughters. Don't buy into that trick because they need money. They used to be a very lucrative. People told me the story about the factories that used to be there. And the factories got up and left. And they're number 4, number 6 on the poorest town in Indiana. And now I see why. Let's do a scenario, shall we? This is going over an hour. Let's do a scenario. Let's just say that I was a very rich black woman. And my dad, that is a billionaire, black billionaire, sent me to this small town because he was thinking about starting a business there and opening up factories to be able to have jobs for people. But he's a black man. And he sent me there to evaluate the town, look at the town, get a feel for it. And then I send a report back to my dad about my racist experience. And you see how they miss out on money. They run people out of town. They're hurting their own self through their own racism. That town needs diversity. It's so empty and dead downtown. No business is really flowing and flourishing, moving. You're hurting your own self with your own racism. There was a black candidate that was running for office. They shot at her. It's in the news. You got to look it up. The mayor got arrested for, they saying that Mayor Tyler, I met him when I was going through this situation with Dominique, and he was a very nice man and believed in God. So I believe they had set him up. I really do. I believe, come on, mayor for $5,000? Really? That ain't no money. So I could see 50 or on up, but $5,000 set up? Please. I don't buy that. And then there was a white candidate. She was running up against one of the officers' mother, councilwoman, and a Chris Bisbee, those two, and the cops ran something ran a report on him without authorization. And then for the candidate that was running up against one of the cops, councilwoman mother, she came back home and there was cops all in her things, looking through her things. Shocking. This is what they do. They do shocking, unbelievable things of violating your rights. And it doesn't matter if you're white or black. This woman was a white candidate. This man was a white, what you call it, iPad radio kind of deal. So he had his own radio, and the cop didn't like what he was saying, so he had a problem with him. But it's a radio station. People have a freedom of speech. Like Rush Limbaugh, people didn't like him, but still at the end of the day, he brought out some controversial issues that people don't really like to talk about. But he was strong and bold enough to do it, and he was a fat man. I don't think that your weight has anything to do with your intelligence and common sense. There's people that's skinny and don't have not one lick of sense or brain power. So all of this that's going on in our life stimulated from that damn one bad investment move that I made. And I always look back and I said, what if I would have just listened to my first mind and got that damn tiny house and would have been separated from people and not too far from a Walmart, but just where our family is out and away. You understand? My ultimate goal is I want to buy land and I want to be able to get a tiny house. And of course, I want all of the plumbing and stuff and electricity to be hooked up. I still want to live like a regular woman. Don't want to go through that experience again that I had to go with no plumbing. But I learned how to make my own showers by a weed sprayer, okay? At first I had this mentality that, okay, we're going to live the simple life like Paris and Nicole, okay? And after a while, it's like, okay, I'm tired of dumping water. I'm tired of warming up water now, okay? I want to be able to turn on the faucet and have some hot water, okay? I want to be able to flush down the toilet, okay? There was times where I would collect rainwater, and the rainwater, I would bleach, sanitize the water. And not for drinking. I had ordered Collagen water for my drinking water. So I had about 8 bottles set aside for drinking. And then my rainwater would be for cleaning and shower. And I would sanitize that with bleach. And they have pills that you could drop in the water as well. And so that's how I would do that. And so I had to learn how to make a shower. So I went right to YouTube and they showed me how to make a shower using the weed sprayer. So that's how we would make the shower. Still had to warm up our water and pour it into the container and then just spray, And then I learned how to make my own portable sink, and how to use the faucet, how to order the faucet.